And good afternoon to you, ladies and gentlemen. Time for another small Propagandacast video detailing commanders. Been quite some time since I did the last two. A little thing called summer and 30 degrees of heat happened, which rather forced me to become a little less active. But back to this. I've detailed the new DLC commanders in the previous two, sort of with those, but also detailing other things. Now it's on to the 10 original commanders, 5 Soviet, 5 German, my thoughts on it, and perhaps how you could do them, and then afterwards I might even do a video and sort of different combinations of all these commanders and how they might work. Exciting stuff, I know. You're already glued to your seat, riveted with excitement, you barely can contain yourself. Come on, Dane, talk about some stuff, and here I go. First off, we have the three first, those basically everyone have access to as the Soviets. When you pop in, you have the guard motor coordination tactics, guard rifle combined arms tactics, and shock rifle frontline tactics. These two have been increasingly popular with the Soviets. They've basically always been pretty much straightforward doctrines. They played along to the Soviet doctrinal strength, that is, you get a bunch of units and you get a bunch of hands-on abilities. In the case of the guard motor coordination tactics doctrine, the advantage lies in it actually gives you an awful lot of units, and more specifically it gives you a lot of units that actually covers a lot of ground. You get mortars, guards, infantry, and you get the T-34-85, and in the hands of a good player who makes really good use of the battalion headquarters command, you can pretty much get away with not building any other structures otherwise. Of course, if your opponent gets a bit too clever, you might fail, but in an ideal situation, you can actually get away with it, simply due to the fact that, again, this covers a lot of ground, in particular if you combine it with Mark vehicle, which of course increases damage towards targets, which again is a very powerful ability as well, if you know how to handle it. Sadly, not a lot do. And of course, you got the lovely vehicle crew repair training, also wondrous. Next up, guard rifle combined arms tactics, also another popular one. Very much focused towards Soviet infantry. Obviously, you get guards rifle infantry, again, always handy. Hit the dirt. Conscript assault packages, again, they work quite well. The conscripts, they really give them that extra spice. Submachine guns and the ability to negate some damage no matter the situation. And of course, ignore suppression, unless of course they're all suppressed, in which case the ability won't work. And of course, you get artillery, always powerful, always handy, and of course, a Sturmwick attacks in that sense. It plays quite along with Soviet infantry and can also be used to support other bits. And then the shock rifle frontline tactics, less seen but still offers some nice bunch of units. It's still got that nice chunk of units. You got the shock troopers, KV-8, and the IS-2, bunch of heavy armor, some bunch of heavy infantry. You get the anti-tank gun ambush tactics, quite alright, and of course you get the incendiary artillery barrage. Also a good doctrine, perhaps not quite as, straightforward, strong as the other two, but it's still got something going for it. It got some ability to, destroy infantry for that matter, and of course the IS-2 heavy tank, if you get it, can be also quite helpful in actually holding up enemy infantry, or for that matter armor. And then moving on to the next pair, we get the shock motor heavy tactics and the NKVD rifle disruption tactics, comrade. Shock motor, again, you get the shock troops because, shockingly enough, a shock doctrine involves shock troops, I know. You also get armored vehicle detection, which is a quite handy ability. Basically allows your infantry to have a chance of spotting enemy armor, which also gives you an idea of figuring out where are the Germans moving, are they trying to flank me, pull up for an assault head on. In that sense, it can be quite good in giving you some information and using that to disrupt the German assault, or for that matter, perhaps avoiding some enemy armor while attacking. You got the conscript repair kit, which is also quite powerful. Basically ensures you can always have some troops nearby to repair your tanks. You don't need combat engineers for that all of a sudden then. And they got quite a good repair rate now. Previously in the beta, it was pretty much rubbish, but now quite good. You get the ISU-152, probably one of the best assault guns, of course. Got quite a nice ability to wipe out infantry. Good against armor. It's obviously not the Elephant, but then again, the Elephant tends to miss a lot. The ISU-152 not so much. So there you go. You can of course make your own decision, but I'd say the ISU-152 pretty much kicks ass, and certainly is worth it. And of course you got the bombing strike, which is also quite a good ability. A well-placed bombing strike can really ruin the day for your opponent. And moving on to the doctrine, which we pretty much barely see at all. In fact, I'll probably make this a challenge out of this. But NKVD rifle disruption, you get radio intercept, you get recon overflight, you get rapid conscription, fear propaganda artillery, and the Sturmovik attack. This is very much a doctrine about basically figuring out where your opponent is doing, or what he's doing. Knowledge is power. In this case, knowledge is power over your enemy. With radio intercept, of course, you can always get an idea where he's taking at, what he's got, what he's getting, what he's using. Recon Overflight gives you the more basic idea of where he is on the map. And of course you can then otherwise, use Fear Propaganda to pretty much make a mockery out of his infantry or his anti-tank guns, doing make attacks for calling in as well. And Rapid Conscription for just charging in with infantry and absorbing some losses, basically attrition. So in that sense, it appears the less obviously strong, but in the hands of a good player, can be quite good. And of course, those are the 5 Soviet doctrines, and certainly those are also the ones you generally see more used. That is, this little combination. And again, those are strong doctrines, and again, for those that, want that, great. I mean, it shouldn't be, you're forced to go for the DLC doctrines, but of course, I mean, they should certainly be an option. And then popping over to the Germans, for the Reich, you've got Festung Armor, always a lovely one as well. Panzer Tactician, hold down, Pack 43 emplacements, command tanks, the railway artillery support. Yes, I got all choked up thinking about that massive gun smashing Soviets to bits. No. But Panzer Tactician, really good ability. I mean, this is one of my favorites. Basically pop smoke, allow your tanks to move away, or you can even use it to cover up for some other unit. So in that sense, quite handy. Hull down, I'm not so huge on at the moment. Of course, it can still have its ability because it does make your tank much harder and also gives it some offensive buffs in a sense, but in most cases you're going to face off against SU-85s. In that case, perhaps not so much, but even then, if you can angle it correctly, the SU-85 will have to come within range of the Panzer or whatever. They'll probably lose. Pack 43s, excellent gun, can pretty much shoot through everything, if you can see it, that is. Otherwise powerful, reasonably cheap, and good. So that's pretty much a bonus there. And of course the command tank, also quite nice little vehicle, one of my favorites. Gives some nice bonuses, and also reasonably cheap. And of course it's also pretty damn fast. And of course you got the railway artillery support. Really, really good if you can actually hit something with it. I mean, it does require a bit of trickery, otherwise your opponent's going to see all the red smoke and probably figure as soon as you hear the roar of the Schwere Gustav that it's not Santa Claus that's incoming. But moving on to Festung support, also a fun little doctrine. Mortar half-tracks, always useful with, well, the basics of fire off rounds, of course, but do so without having to set up like other mortars, and of course incendiary rounds are always handy. Smoke bombs, another fun little one. Might be a bit of overlap with the rest of the mortar after what it could do, but even then you can use it to quickly, obfuscate either your opponent's line of sight or cover your retreat. Relief infantry, also a fun ability. Of course, we have already done a challenge on that one, so perhaps I shouldn't say so much about that, but even then, 120 munitions, you get something in the last 2 minutes, and you basically have to lose 6 men. I mean, a lot of people seem to think, oh, I have to lose a squad. No, don't throw away squads, it's just 6 guys. Doesn't matter where they come from, as long as there's 6 squads. You can have 3 from squad 1, 2 from squad 2, and 1 from, Johnny the Janitor's janitorial unit back in Berlin. Something like that. Basically, you lose those 6 guys, you get a squad of Osttruppen, use them defensively or use them to support something else, and they're quite alright. Then you get the light artillery there, the Leichte Feldhaubitze, always quite handsome, quite accurate, fires quite a lot. Doesn't quite have the same explosive firepower as the Soviet 15cm, but on the other hand you get something that's more likely to hit. And sector artillery, really good if you know how to use it. Costs a bit of munitions, but again, if you can actually catch your opponent in it, you can really make him cry. And then Jaeger Armor Doctrine. I will of course admit this is not my favourite doctrine, but again, for those that do, I mean, it's very much a vehicle-oriented doctrine. What it does is a lot of people don't really use it a lot. And when they do use it, they pretty much only go for spotting scopes and the elephant, and then pretty much ignore everything else. They, for example, don't use the Riegel anti-tank mine, which is basically a teller mine, except it's guaranteed to immobilize your opponent's tank or vehicle if it survives. Reconnaissance overflight, again, keeping an eye on your opponent, or for the matter, allowing your elephant to see a bit further. Spotting scope allows your vehicles to see further as long as they don't move. The elephant goes without saying, pretty much heavy Schwere Panzerjäger. Big gun, big armor. And the Stuka bombing strike, very accurate, very nasty, very mean, also a bit expensive. And if your opponent figures out, of course, it's going to be wasted. So there's that. And then Jaeger infantry and assault support. Jaeger infantry, obviously very infantry focused. Ambush camouflage, works for grenadiers, panzer guns and heavy machine guns. Gives them a small damage bonus. Quite handy ability, in particular for heavy machine guns. If you place them correctly, they can really wreak havoc on your opponent. Jaeger light infantry upgrade. Gewehr for the freeze, need I say any more, but of course also interrogation, which allows you to give you an idea of your opponent's movements, but It's one of those abilities which rarely sees usage, probably because it's bloody hard finding the wounded after the battle. Tactical movement also available. Also good ability, doesn't cost much, but it pretty much allows all of your infantry plus support units to sprint, so do try to make good usage of it. It can make a difference. Light artillery barrage, good for that little bit of disruption. Of course, it's still got close air support, which at the moment I really wouldn't use. It's not really worth it, but it's there. And then the assault support doctrine, once incredibly reviled, it's barely used anymore. It's still quite a good doctrine. I mean, you get the cargo truck, the Opel Blitz, 300 manpower now, but still gives you resources, basically functions like a fuel cache and a munitions cache in one, which I'd say still makes it worth it. You get the artillery field officer, which is sadly rarely used when one either gets a doctrine, but again, if properly used, he can really give your army a boost and really get you that much more out of it. Strafing runs, also less powerful than they used to be in the revised version, but still quite handy for quickly stopping up an infantry assault or covering up a flank. Tiger tank, that one should be obvious. If not, Tiger tank, Google it. Oh well, not really, but still. I mean, it might need a bit more of buffing, but still overall it's much better than it used to be, and you can still provide quite a bit of a scare to your opponent. And of course, finally you have the Fragmentation Bomb, which is always quite handy. Besides, just ripping apart infantry, field guns, support weapons, it also stuns tanks. Something perhaps less considered, but even then, for example, in some cases you might just want to throw it in to give your armor a chance to sort of get in or past the armor. For example, it's a tank destroyer. So little fun suggestion there. And there we go. 10 commanders gone through. Hopefully you got a few ideas to how you might want to do things with the doctrines, what you might want to use yourself in the future. Otherwise, I'll probably be planning again on doing a video sort of discussing different combination of the commanders and doctrines, what you might want to use and why you might want to use it in those combinations. Of course, if you like that, feel free to tell me in the comments. This is Imperial Dane, thanking you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Feel free to comment. Cheers.